Alright, welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're doing our first ever Season 1 tier list. Now we're about a week or two into Season 1 and the meta has already been established. So throughout this tier list, I'm going to be putting, the respective characters in the respective category, and I'll also just be explaining a little bit, going over any recent patches they might have gotten. So how we're going to do this is S tier is going to be just your top picks in bands. A plus is going to be like your great ones, like grade sort of like above average. A is just going to be average, like, nothing bad, nothing terribly wrong as well. This is like where you want most characters to be. B is going to be situational. You pick these in case of certain situations, obviously. And, these characters in here can also excel, keyword being situational. So, and then C tier is just going to be bottom of the barrel. Very, very specific niches to fill. Like, you're not going to pick these. It's like, these are like these characters need buffs or improvements. Alright, so starting off, we have Adam Warlock. Adam, I would say, is like just your perfect center of the mix support. Nothing, he doesn't do anything terribly bad. He has his little passive where he can respawn wherever he wants. It's a good little nice repositioning in case you were to be taken out first, leaving your teammates defenseless, unsustained. You could just pick a safe spot to respawn and then just continue healing. You also have your little ult that revives anybody. As far as I know, he's one of the only characters in the recent patch that didn't get any adjustments. So I would say that's more like a good thing than a bad thing, because, like I said, he's a good middleman. Nice little starting point as to where most supports will be at. The only reason why I wouldn't put him any higher is just because I don't think most people really know how to use this ult properly. Most of the times you just see like 3 of your teammates go down and then you immediately just cast it. But I'm sure a lot of you don't know the fact that you could cast it, from afar, a very great distance. And then you could run towards where your allies have died. And then you're basically like grabbing them and sending them back to where you cast your ult. It's obviously like a bigger, raccoon beacon, little life beacon, but obviously you could res your whole team instead of just one compared to rockets. And I think a lot of people don't know that about him, so that's why I'm just gonna leave him here. He's just average. Up next we have Black Panther. So in season 0, I think he was a pretty top pick hero. Right now there's like a little triple support meta going on that kind of like makes you have to double your effort just to kill one backliner. So I think I'm just gonna put him at A plus. He's definitely better than your average melee duelists. You could still like get the job done, but in terms of just that triple support meta, it's gonna be way more difficult to kill off one of the backliners. Very high skill ceiling, very hard to pull off, but relatively easy to master. Up next, we have Black Widow. Black Widow, I know she got a buff. I think like her ultimate casts faster, I believe. Yeah, okay, so her ultimate casts faster, and you regain stamina faster, and your little like knockback kick to sort of kite around enemies. It's the range has been increased, so you could like kick enemies from a farther distance. That being said, her main niche of just being the sniper that can't, properly one-shot somebody is like, it's still just like, I'm just gonna leave her not good. She's not even like in a situational sense, like you could still pull something off, but her ultimate is just ridiculous. It's just like the whole thing about like slowing enemies down just so you could like land shots on them easier. It's like no, just like get rid of that ultimate, give it something better, give her some sort of one-shot potential. It doesn't have to be like, to the point where she's broken. Just like, maybe like a faster firing rate, maybe turn her sniper into some sort of semi-automatic sniper instead of like this bolt action shotgun type. I don't know, she just needs something, because her and her sniper alone are not doing it, and no one's ever really using the electric batons. Next up is the Hulk. Hulk is going to be our first S tier character. He's definitely picked and banned a lot just for the reason of his little team up alone, where he gives buffs to Strange and Iron Man. Just that little damage boost alone, plus the fact that he's this very mobile tank character that can just hop in and out of fights. He can shield himself. He could just, like, if he's ever low on health, he could just ult and immediately regain all the lost health and boost it all the way up to 1500. It's like it's a very annoying character to play against, but very fun to play as. He's definitely one of the only dive oriented tanks that, like, you know, sort of deserve a spot up here. Like, if they were to nerf his team up ability, like, he'd still probably be up here, just like because of his kit alone. Like, that's still like a good sort of kit to have on a tank. You know, someone that could self-sustain, someone that could shield themselves from any CC or, like, you know, high burst damage. Someone that has a bit of a safety net, you know, that all together in a tank is like what makes him S tier regardless of his team up. He's probably not like, he's probably just like bottom of the S tier, because if he were truly any worse, he'd still just probably be at the top of A plus, but he's still, like, you know, worthy of S tier. Next is Captain America. He's gonna be our first B tier. I think they give him buffs to a shield. Yeah, so the delay time, like, you know, you were to raise your shield and then lower it, and then you would try to raise it again, and, like, you wouldn't be able to because somehow this is heavier than anything else on the planet. So, like, you kind of have to wait. Instead of 3 seconds, it's now 2 seconds. They increased his health and he gets his ult back quicker. All that being said, like, his playstyle just fills a very specific niche where you're trying to stall the backline. You know, you're this very mobile tank that could also self-sustain and block, kind of like Hulk, but he doesn't have the what's it called? The lethality. So it's, like, kind of really hard to put him any higher. Like, most of his abilities do anywhere from like 20 to 30 damage, which is kind of ridiculous. And then also, like, the only chance of killing somebody is just beating them to death with your melee attacks. Because every other ability that you do, it's like, it's really nothing. Okay, next on the list is Cloak and Dagger. This is going to be our first support strategist S tier. They gave her a lot of buffs this new patch. The biggest one being that Cloak and Dagger now get a 4th dash during their ult, which means they can just stack the heals. And this also means that she also gains CC immunity for like 2 seconds longer, because I'm pretty sure that's the duration of the dash. So it's like an all-around buff just when using the ultimate, because you could just stall out enemies. You know, they can't really cancel you unless they were to do some sort of high damaging ultimate or ability. And you're practically impossible to kill standing in the ultimate. I still think some other support options are better than hers, but she's still, like, they definitely earned their spot at the top. And then Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange is going to be our next tank at the top of the list. Like I said, definitely better than Hulk, because Hulk is probably just the last of the S tier. But for Strange, you know, they kind of nerfed him a little bit. Let me take a look. Okay, so they nerfed this little dark magic dispel, like when you get the 100 stacks and then you press your E to dispel all the dark magic. They nerfed the damage radius, so, like, you know, you were to get all your stacks and then dispel it, and then you're pretty much killing anybody from like a 10-meter radius. So they kind of nerfed it so that you're only dealing damage within a 5-meter radius, so you really have to get a lot closer. And then your recharge rate from your shield, they nerfed that, but just barely, by like 10 health per second, I think. Yeah, from 80 to 70. So yeah, he's still S tier back then, still S tier now. Up next is Groot. Groot is going to be our first average tank. Again, nothing too broken, nothing too weak, just, like, you know, perfectly balanced in the middle. His whole wall mechanic and being able to, like, you know, set it up behind enemies and then they're trapped, like, that whole tactic is, like, still pretty good. His ultimate being one of the best tank ultimates in the game, next to Strange's. He's got a really good setup for his team. He's very team oriented in the same way Strange is, where you kind of rely on your teammates to do damage, because, like, for Groot, he can pretty much do what Strange can do. Like, you know, you ult somebody, you stun them, and then like you pretty much cast the rest of your kit onto them, and they die. Like both these tanks can pretty much do that. But with Groot, since he's like less mobile or practically no mobility at all, like that's where he lacks. That's what kind of puts him here as well. But other than that, he's just like a perfectly grounded, no pun intended, middle tier tank. And then up next is Hawkeye. He did receive nerfs, I believe, to the range of his arrow. They reduced his passive from like his little focusing passive where you aim at somebody and it charges up bonus damage. Again, that doesn't do anything. You're pretty much aiming at the tank, charging it up, and then you aim it at their backline and then just one-shotting anybody. Again, for maybe like your like below plat players, that might affect them, but anybody above that, it's like they know what to do. Then up next is Hela. I mean, pretty much the same thing. The only nerf she got was really just her HP. So instead of 275, she has 250. She still has the one-shot potential. Or not exactly one-shot, but just like, hit somebody twice in the head and they're just insta-dead. Her ult is still kind of insane, but it's easily countered by Strange, but it's like, nonetheless, besides that, she's still just pretty strong. And then Iron Fist. I know a lot of people would probably just put him in C tier, like he does nothing, but I think it's kind of like a weird little scenario. It's like what everybody thought Logan was. That's really what just Iron Fist was, and what people thought Iron Fist was is really Logan, just sort of like this fast melee tank shredder. But it turns out Logan is the tank shredder, and Iron Fist is like the backline shredder, because Logan is dealing percent damage, and Iron Fist is just dealing a flat amount, but very fast. So like the thing is that he definitely fills a niche. So that's why I'm gonna put him like at the bottom of B tier situational. Because a lot of people are sort of underestimating his little parrying moves where he gets shields when you block attacks. His ability to like self meditate, self heal. It's like you don't see that with many backliners. But just like I said, his truth strength really lies on when you're chasing like aerial enemies like an Iron Man or Star-Lord or Storm even. It's like the fact that you can just stick onto them in midair. It's like it's kind of a scary thing to deal with. So like you're only really picking him if like they ask for somebody like, hey, we need somebody to deal with this other backliner or this support that's doing something, and it's like that in and of itself, it's still gonna be a difficult task. Because like you're going in by yourself, and as a squishy, you're not going to be able to pull it off very easily. So yeah, he's definitely not C tier, but he's just like I said, a very specific niche in B tier situational. Up next is Iron Man. For Iron Man by himself, I would just put him in A plus. But if you get the team up with Hulk, he kind of just like moves up all the way up to S tier. Just the fact alone, just that team up alone, just kind of makes them broken. But I'm kind of rating this tier list as like characters on their own as much as possible. But I'm still taking into account their team ups though. So his ultimate being one of the strongest in the game, strongest as in damage, not really like in terms of its impact, but just like being able to kill a Luna Snow, dancing in her ult. Or a Cloak and Dagger when they're dashing and stuff like that. Just like, pretty much timing is all you really need for this character to pull stuff off. And then his little gamma ray that he gets from Hulk, the little laser attack, like that's just ridiculous. I'll just leave him up here for now, and then once I'm finished with the tier list, I'll kind of go back on each character, and maybe I might move him down or leave him there, but I don't know, just he's really turned out to be strong. Like I would say, like even before like season 0, he was probably an A tier definitely, or A plus. But now everybody realizing his team up and his potential, it's like it definitely moves him up. But yeah, I'll just leave him there for now. And then up next is Jeff. Now Jeff, I would say he's probably like a very situational healer support. He's only really good at one thing, and that's his ult. And it only works best when you're playing on like some sort of convergence map or domination. It's just like, hey, there's too many enemies at this point. We're contesting it. It's overtime. You know, ult the team, get rid of them, stall them out, you know, or kill them. You like, you know, go off the edge and then spit them out and stuff. Just things like that is where he really shines. But the rest of his kit, it's like he has sort of relatively slow healing. Even though it's got good range, it's still just like this. It's still typically slow. He's got good survivability, you know, having no crit points when you know you're diving underwater. It's very hard to hit him and stuff like that. But again, he's probably like, I'll move him to like the top of the tier. But other than that, he's just very, very specific niche to fill. Loki. Loki, I'm gonna put in A plus. I think he's really, really good. There's not much to say about him besides just being able to be sort of that whole triple support. You know, you go a cloak and a Luna and then a Loki as well. And it's like you could just save your ult to copy the Luna's or the cloak's ultimate, and then you just pretty much have your little support, triple support meta right there. And it's like their ults alone are lasting about like 6 to 8 seconds, and then like Luna's, it's also like 10 seconds or something like that. And then you ult, and then that's another 10 seconds. It's like you're pretty much stalling a point for like a very long time, and it's just very annoying to deal with. But other than that, you just like the rest of his kit, you know, the invulnerability rune, being able to teleport, going invisible. It's like all that alone gives them good survivability as a support. Next is Luna Snow. Luna Snow is going to be our second support in S tier. Definitely better than Cloak and Dagger. Still one of the best ults in the game. Just being able to heal your entire team. The only way you're going to die really is just by an Iron Man ult. Yeah, so it was like a little bug that people would do where they would switch between the damage mode and the healing mode, and they would switch really fast so that your teammate would be able to gain the benefits of both of them. So they pretty much patched that where you're gonna have to wait like half a second to switch between modes now. So you're really gonna have to choose between if you want to, you know, damage boost or heal boost your allies. Yeah, just like that's like 8 seconds, I think it is, of just pure immunity is like very, very hard to deal with. All right, next up is Magic. Magic, I think she's just average. Not too broken, not too awful. Just perfectly grounded melee duelist. She kind of hits slow, but like she's slow but hard hitting. I think they buffed her ultimate, her Dark Child. Yeah, they buffed her Dark Child form where she teleports and then does her little attack. Or I'm not sure if that's right. I think it's like the uppercut or the teleporting attack. Either one of those two. They buffed the Dark Child form of that where it deals more damage now. She's kind of hard to deal with, but like, you know, she still has her little cooldowns, will give you time to kind of like get rid of her quickly. Her little team up is not really the greatest with Black Panther and I think Psylocke. Just being able to go back in time, it's like it seems like a cool little tech, but it's like if she could do that herself and not exactly give it to them, it'd be a lot better. But again, it's like she's not too horrible. Just like, you know, melee character that could definitely you know, sort of self-sustain and attack the whole backline. All right, up next is Magneto. Magneto is definitely going to be our third tank in S tier. I'm going to put him above Hulk. But yeah, pretty much the same niche as Doctor Strange. You're pretty much this defensive tank, shielding yourself and your allies. His ultimate, it kind of serves more of just like a counter than it is like an offensive ability like Strange's where you're stunning anybody. It's like you hear somebody else ult go off, you pretty much just counter ult with yours and then toss it back at them. But again, just the rest of his kit, just being able to knock back enemies with your secondary attack, your shield, absorbing any amount of damage for a few seconds, casting shields on distant allies like that's like really good for him, and that's what has him deserve a spot in S tier. Now up next is Mantis. Mantis is going to be our third support in S tier. I'm still kind of undecided whether I kind of like Cloak and Dagger more or a Mantis ult better. Because what makes her great is that her DPS is really strong. And the fact that she can ult and still continue to do her actions kind of like gives her more versatility versus Cloak, you know, having to dash 4 times. Well, it does a lot of tick damage. It's like you're still not killing anybody with your Cloak and Dagger ult. While at Mantis, it's like you're ulting and then you're able to still do, you know, your DPS while simultaneously healing anybody and, like, you know, increasing their movement speed. So yeah, I'll put her next to Luna. It's like, don't get me wrong, she's still, like, Cloak and Dagger are still strong, but I still think the Mantis is like just a bit better for that reason alone, just the being able to do stuff in your ultimate. Then up next is Moon Knight. Now Moon Knight definitely, probably season 0, I would have probably put him like at the bottom of A. But I think since they buffed his ultimate, where it was like they now spawn more hands of Khonshu, and the blast radius is bigger, so, like, you know, it's kind of harder to dodge. I think that alone kind of moves him up a point. It's like he's very annoying to deal with, but very easily counterable. You know, he's just gonna throw down his Ankh, and then you just destroy it, and then now he has pretty much no choice but to fire at you directly. I think the ult can actually kill Luna Snow as well, because it does a lot of burst damage, and now the fact that it deals like in a bigger radius, the blast radius, is going to be harder for her to dodge. So I think I'll move Moon Knight to like the bottom of 8+. Up next is Namor. Now Namor, I think I'll put him at the bottom of S tier. He's very annoying to deal with, just his little turrets alone, his little squid turrets. And I think they also buffed his frost turret with Luna Snow, where it now has more HP, and I think it deals faster, more damage, I think. Yeah, so it deals more damage, it slows you, and the firing rate is faster. So they pretty much just buffed the frozen squid. And he now throws it more accurately, which is like a quality of life change. It's not really like a buff or a nerf, but just the little team up alone, like, that's just gonna be more annoying to deal with. Yeah, just that whole thing alone is like, he's very annoying to deal with, especially if you're like an Iron Man or a Storm. Like, you know, you're up in the air, the turrets are gonna just hit you regardless, and you have no way of like protecting yourselves from them. So yeah, he definitely deserves a spot up here in S tier. Up next is Penny Parker. I think she's gonna be our next situational tank. Again, she's meant to be sort of this anti-dive oriented tank, you know, with her traps set up, with her net, her little spider web that, you know, catches people in the middle of the air. Her ultimate being like this, constantly knocking you up or setting down mines. It's like, it's very annoying to deal with if you're like a Hulk trying to like get onto point, or if you're Groot or Thor or Venom even. Just any of those like dive tanks, not necessarily Groot, but just more like Hulk, Thor, or Venom. It's very hard to deal against her, but again, she's like very easily counterable. You just destroy her little nest that keeps popping the mines, and like she's done from there. Like, what are you gonna do? All right, up next is Psylocke. I believe she got like a weird change to her ultimate, where like it now checks for barriers, or like the little like bubble shields. Like, I'm guessing like what it's supposed to do is, like, I think before this change, she would cast it, and then you pretty much bubble somebody as like a Hulk or a Magneto, and she'd still like prioritize her attacks on you even though you were shielded. So it's like that little dash damage that she'd do to you, it's like you're pretty much protected against that when you're Magneto or Hulk, like, you know, bubbled up. And it says right here that it's now going to prioritize checking for barriers. So what I'm thinking it's gonna do, it's like, let's say you have four, like she catches four of you in her giant ult. So you as Magneto, you shield somebody. So now that's three people that are left unshielded. What I think she's gonna do is she's gonna prioritize the three unshielded people and then attack the fourth shielded person last. So it's like she's gonna deal the two dashes to the unshielded, and then do the unshielded last. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I'm just guessing that's what it's gonna do now. I think before she was definitely S tier, but I think now I kind of don't know what to do with her because like I said, I don't know if that change is like better or worse or just kind of pretty much the same. Okay, I'll just do the same thing. Maybe I'll also like swap her off with Iron Man. Like maybe I might swap these two, but I'm just gonna leave her at the top of A for now, and then I'll change. Maybe might change my mind later and put her at S tier. But yeah. All right, up next is Punisher. I want to get to this list as quickly as possible. So yeah, Punisher A tier. You know, middle ground. You know, duelist. Nothing too crazy really about him outside of his ultimate. You know, good range character. I think they buffed his like the radius, like this little like the spread of the recoil from his shotgun and his AR. So it's kind of easier to control maybe. Good little self peel. You know, he has a zip line. He has his little smoke bomb. And then if things get too tough, you know, he just casts his ultimate and he's pretty much CC immune, dealing damage. You know, almost killing your entire team. So yeah, just off those little things alone, that I think puts him like a good spot at average. All right, up next is Rocket. Rocket, his healing got boosted by 10 points per second when he shoots his little like glowing orbs. That heals a lot faster now. Yeah, he's very this offensive oriented support. I'm just not sure if I should put him in like B tier because again he's like this niche of like a offensive oriented support compared to like these three being a sort of a defensive. But his strongest thing is really just his ultimate buffing your entire team and his little respawn beacon being able to revive one of your teammates. The little perks that it shoots out, like the mini shield, the double jump, like that's all pretty strong. But again, I don't think it's enough to really like put him at average. Up next is Scarlet. I don't really know. Like she's very much like this noob stomper, but just pretty much anybody above silver rank, it's like you're easily shutting her down. I think they changed her whole mechanic where she used to be like this tank shredder because her little her auto attacks dealt percent damage like Logan's, but I think they just changed it where it's now gonna deal. It's still dealing percent damage, but now it's also dealing flat damage, so it could get rid of like squishy backliners quicker as well. Her ult is like the only thing strong about her, but it's like it takes a very long time and it's very telegraphed, and like, you know, if you're catching people out of position, like the most popular thing I've seen is like, you know, a Doctor Strange portal and then like, you know, a Scarlet Witch goes through and pretty much wipes your whole team. Again, that just seems more of like clip farming than it is an actual strategy. I think what I'll do, you know, I'll move her up to situational. I think she could still do something like, you know, like I don't think she, like comparatively their ults, like, you know, Black Widow versus Scarlet Witch ults, it's like hers is just slowing you down. Scarlet Witch still has the capacity to like, you know, wipe out your entire team. I think that gives her a spot above Iron Fist and Widow. Up next, Spider-Man. Very difficult character to pull off, very annoying to deal with. I think the fact alone that he's very difficult makes him not worthy of a spot anywhere in A+. I'm just not sure if I should put him in situational or average, because the whole thing with him is just that he's just kind of annoying to deal with. I'll think I'll put him at the top of situational, just like in case you need this very mobile duelist to kind of deal with one person in the back line. But other than that, it's just like His ultimate is nice. The whole being able to stun multiple people while also like being able to kill them. You know, you're also shielded in it. But again, all that just very hard to pull off. So unless you're very good at him, like Necros, you know, he pretty much moves up a tier. But like, you know, even himself being like the #1 Spider-Man would agree to like put him in situational. Up next, we have Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl definitely bumps up. I would have put her at A before, but her new buff to her ultimate, I think it definitely moves her up a tier. I think she's like, I don't know if better than, yeah, definitely better than Panther, but not better than Psylocke. But just the whole, I think like her ultimate now tracks you. Yeah, the ultimate now tracks you when it bounces off things, which makes it more like concerning to deal with. Before it would just bounce off somewhere and then just leave the fight. Like nobody cares about it anymore. Star-Lord, let me see. Nothing's really changed about him. I think I'll put him in S tier, right next to Iron Man, because they pretty much like both do this very specific thing, just like this flying enemy that like, you know, pretty much melt anybody. Kind of harder to pull off than an Iron Man. Like, you know, he doesn't require a team up to kind of like do what he does. Because he could do what Iron Man does, like, you know, without the team up. So, yeah, I think I'll put him like above Iron Man. The whole like little tracking, the automatic tracking in his ultimate, just like, you know, just pretty much does the job for you. Yeah, he's definitely very strong at that. So I'll leave him there. Now Storm. Now this character was definitely one I would have put at C tier before her boss, but then after, I think she's earned her spot up at A plus. I know at the very very top, like, you know, Diamond Plus games, I know some people would like ban her just off like her changes alone. It's not like her team ups with Thor or Captain America are necessarily strong, like compared to like Hulk's and Iron Man's, but just her kit alone getting the buffs that he got, you know, faster auto attack projectile speed. They deal more damage now. And her ultimate, like her shield, now stays with her afterwards, after it's finished casting. It's like her ultimate before was probably just the best part about her when she was like in C tier. Now that she can actually hit people with her auto attacks and her abilities, or deal much more damage now, it's like a good boost up to probably the top of A tier or A plus tier. The damage boost, the movement boost, all that combined, like, you know, people realizing her true potential, like that's good to see. Up next is Thor. Thor, you know, I personally main him. You don't see a lot of him in like your top level plays, like in your Eternity or Grandmasters. It's like unless you main him, that's probably where you're gonna see him in games. Like even like unless there's Thor mains, then you're gonna see him up there. And it's like he pretty much has the same capabilities as Hulk. You know, this self-sustaining tank that could dive in. You know, very good against these two picks. Like, you know, you can pretty much knock either of these back with your little hammer charge when they're holding up their shield. Your melee attacks pierce through their shields. He's also now CC immune while you're casting your ultimate. You know, that was like the big underlying factor at which kind of set him back. You know, you ult and then you would have a Mantis or a Luna Snow stun you while you're casting your ultimate, and then pretty much just stops you from there. You're stunned and then they take you out afterwards. Small little, just 25 plus HP, but just the CC immunity alone, I think, would bump him up. And his team up, like, again, it's like, it's pretty strong. Like, you know, granted, like, it's kind of coincidental that these two, like, are team up buddies. You know, picking her, Storm, and then a Thor as well. It's like, I think this is where, you know, they're truly gonna shine. She goes into her damage boost form, and then you ultimate, and it's like you're pretty much killing any backliners when you do the final slam to the ground. It's like that alone, like, it's just a very, very strong combo. I just kind of wish they had something for that for Captain, because all he really gets is just more ricochet shield hits with his team up with Thor. But yeah, just Thor alone, just being able to hold his own against any of these tanks up here and any of the tanks below him. It's like he's very, very strong. Like any change, any buff from now, I think would just boost him up to S tier. So I think he's like in a very, very good, healthy spot right here. Up next is Venom. Now Venom got a buff to his self-sustained shield. I think it gains like it would before it would give you 100% of any of your missing health versus now it gives you 120%. So, you know, if you were like at 200 to 100 HP and then you'd use it, you'd get like a 800 or 900. I don't really know the math behind it, but you would just get that giant shield and now it just got even bigger. So his ultimate would deal 50% of your current HP plus 40. Now it deals plus 50, so it's like a little flat damage. You're still not really one-shotting anybody, like not even like backliners. You're not one-shotting with that ultimate. It's more meant for like chunky, a lot of HP sort of enemies, like a Hulk in his Monster Hulk form. Just like any enemies that have lots of shields or a lot of HP, like even a Groot when he's standing near his walls, it's like you're chunking them down a lot. He's very similar to Cap, as in like, you know, he could hold his own. He could stall around. He's very much more annoying to deal with, given the fact that he's much more mobile and can swing around, dive, and disrupt. He's like the epitome of a dive tank, but I just think he's not as quite as effective as like a Groot would be. His little team up with Penny is like, it's good. Same with Spider-Man, like it's good, nice little defensive knockback. But I just still think he needs something more than that to really let him shine, like maybe a second swing charge, or, you know, buff the ultimate more so it deals more flat damage, or make it deal maximum HP instead of current HP. Just little changes like that can really boost him up, but I think where he is now, it's like fine. Maybe just like let him settle a bit. Then Bucky, Winter Soldier. Really great little nice counter pick against these aerial enemies. Just being able to like grab any of the frontliners or backliners and then pull them towards you. It's like a nice little trap. His ultimate being able to be like, you know, being able to reset his ultimate like 50 million times. So yeah, he's definitely like at the top of A plus tier. Then we have Logan, probably the most misunderstood character. You know, before everybody would probably put him in C tier because they thought he just did nothing. Then, like, you know, I think one of these days some Logan player went against like a Groot or Hulk and they just saw like, wow, I just shredded that guy. And then so once they figured out that his autos deal percent damage that goes up to 10%, I think when you're fully enraged, it's like they saw that like, okay, this guy is like, he's going to be annoying to deal with. The fact that he just abduct anybody, you know, sneak up behind you and then just like grab you and pull you towards your team or the enemy team. And then he's just shredding you while the other backliners are also shooting at you. It's like very, very scary and annoying to deal with this kind of character. And then so they gave him a boost to his HP, but they nerfed his damage reduction when he roars. So yeah, it would kind of seem like he's like very situational because he's just pretty much this tank shredder. But pretty much every top tier games, top high rank games, you're gonna see a Strange or a Hulk or a Magneto. It's like you're gonna see one of these regardless. You're never seeing just like a one tank comp in the high rank games. So that's where his value really shines. So I'll leave him at the bottom of A plus. Like even the fact alone, if it was just a one tank, that his value is still there. Like, you know, because no serious comp is gonna go tankless. So just if they have one Strange, you know, you sneak up behind him while he's casting his shield. You know, you grab him behind him, and it's like they're tankless. It's like what are they gonna do now? All right, then our next two characters are the newest ones, Mr. Fantastic. So for Mr. Fantastic, so I feel like people just haven't properly figured him out yet. He sort of acts like this pseudo tank where it's like maybe if you're going like a one tank triple support strat and then your two duelist, it's like one Mr. Fantastic and then any other duelist. It's like he's sort of like this second acting tank. They could like, you know, CC people from afar, you know, you stretch and grab them and then you grab another person, you slam them together. Or, you know, a high damaging ult is coming your way like a Iron Man. You know, we've all seen the trailer where he just absorbs that and shoots it right back at him. So he has good counters. Like he could counter a lot of these guys actually. Then when he goes into his tank form, when he has 100% elastic powers, it's like that's where he goes into his beefy tank mode, where he gets a lot of shields. It's like that, all that alone, I think it's worthy to put him at, like, you know, maybe the top of A. But the reason I'm not putting him any higher is like his ultimate. It's like I think it's only dealing like 50 damage per slam, and like if you land 3 successful slams, you now get a fourth one. If you successfully land that one, the fifth one, and then a sixth one, and so on. I think it only goes up to 6. But just like it takes way too long. Like you're not killing anybody with that ultimate. So it's like I would put him in situational because, like I said, he's sort of just this niche pick of a pseudo tank as an acting tank. But you know, just being able to get beefy, or you know, being able to absorb any high damaging attacks, it's like I still would put him at average, at A tier. And I think that like a lot of people like aren't using him correctly. Like I think they just need time to figure out his true role, kind of like how people didn't understand how Logan worked. Because the way you're supposed to play him is that, you know, you get up to 100 stacks of your elastic power, you get tanky, and then you ultimate. Because you're not supposed to ult before that, because then anybody's just, they're going to see you jump, you're kind of standing in the air for like half a second, and then you slam. You jump again, you're in the air half a second. It's like you're very easily killed during your ultimate. And it's kind of funny because the only time I've seen his ultimate be very lethal is if there's a ceiling. Because if you're doing this in an open area, he's pretty much jumping as high as he can, versus like if you're doing this in like a very tight room, it's like you jump up and you're hitting the ceiling and then you go way back down. So it's like you're pretty much like this fast bouncing ball where you're just like your DPS is obviously going to increase. But again, that's like a very, very specific situation, so I'm not even going to take that into account here. So yeah, I think I'll leave him at the bottom of A, maybe just like top of B, bottom of A. But he's definitely better than any of these characters. And the last character, our newest one, is Invisible Woman. Now she's definitely earned her spot in S tier. I think I'll put her above. Actually, no, I'm gonna put her below Cloak and Dagger. I'll explain why, but first, just the whole, she has a very, very good utility, very good healing. The whole new mechanic of like being able to disappear your whole team, you know, put up this giant cylinder where, you know, your enemies don't know where you're at. They're just sort of blind firing. And a lot of people don't know that like this counter is almost like this count, like that ult can counter a lot of other ultimates, like any like a Star Lord. If you were to cast his ultimate, it works as like a auto lock feature, so he needs to be able to see the enemy to be able to fire at them. And if an Invisible Woman were to cast it, well, he kind of just loses that. He's not able to like see where he's firing at, not being able to lock onto anybody. The same thing goes for Hawkeye. He ults, he's not going to be able to see where you last were to, like, you know, put that little hologram or that, you know, that little ghost behind you to shoot at. It's like those little things, just being able to counter that with their ultimate, it's like very, very strong. The little mobile shield that you give to players that they could hide behind, they also heals them. Oh yeah, her little knockback ability, her being able to pull you forward or backwards, it's like very, very great peel or setup. It's like one thing I'm seeing a lot of before. It's kind of like how Doctor Strange was sort of like, you know, you set up the portal, a teammate goes through like a Scarlet Witch. That little combo has now been replaced with Invisible Woman, where you set up a portal somewhere where enemies can't see. You're invisible, and then, you know, you pretty much, the enemy team goes by, and then you just push them towards the portal, and it knocks the whole team down to, like, you know, the off the map where the other portal was, that Strange setup. It's like that's a new little like fun tech that I've seen people do. It's like I feel like even though that's obviously like some sort of clip farming tech, I still think that her little, like, there could be something that people can pull off with that. But yeah, the reason why I wouldn't exactly put her above Cloak and Dagger is that she, like, these characters have like self-sustaining capabilities, while like she can't heal herself until she's invisible, which even then you could easily take her out of, because like let's say the enemy team is focusing on you, you double jump to enter into your invisible form so you could start healing, or you'd have to wait like a couple seconds before you turn invisible passively. But just the double jump is probably just the most effective way. And that alone, it's like you double jump, enemies are going to kind of guess where you are, they shoot you, they take you out of your invisible form, now you're no longer self-healing. I think that's just her biggest setback, just the lack of self-sustain is what kind of sets her back. But just the rest of her kit alone is like pretty OP. Like you're definitely gonna be banning her or picking her in most of your games. Like they ban a Luna or a Mantis, you're gonna go Cloak or Invisible Woman. And alright, so that's gonna have to do it for our tier list. I think go ahead and screenshot this, do whatever you'd like to do. So yeah, I think this is good for a season 1 tier list. We'll see how this changes. Normally you'd make this tier list at the end of a season, but I think this is like we're kind of like in the good middle of the road sort of season. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments whether you agree or disagree. Tell me who you think deserves to be put up a spot or maybe put down. Anything like that, any feedback is appreciated, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.